Welcome, trainers, to our second season playing through each Pokemon generation. We are currently halfway through the Johto region, with much more to come. My name is Chris. I'm the last trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Crystal. I'm also joined by my two fellow co-hosts.
My name is Sean. I'm the Fire Breather trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Gold.
And my name is Dustin. I'm the Gentleman trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Silver. And we are known as the Trainer Trio.
In our last episode, we acquired the Fog Badge and beat Morty and his Ghost Squad. Most importantly, too, we also received the HM for Surf, which opened up a lot of the game. In this episode, we're going to be talking about those Surf side quests, a couple trades that we were all able to do in person, go through Route 42, through Mahogany Town, Route 43 in the Lake of Rage. We're going to go discover the hideout of a certain evil team, and then fight the gym leader of Mahogany Town, Pryce. And before we get started, guys, you're never going to believe this.
What?
I encountered a shiny Pokemon during our playthrough.
What?
I'm not going to tell you where.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you where, but when we get there, I will let you know.
I'm so surprised.
See, and I said someone was going to encounter a shiny. Chris, you're the one who said, oh, there's no way, it's 8,000 odds. Of course, you probably have like 6 times the amount of playtime as me, but it works out. I wonder if it's on your team then.
I wonder.
Totally thought that Sean would be the one to get first too, because he's the one that's always gone to shiny. So very surprised. Chris is coming in strong this season right now.
So let's start jumping into it. In the last episode, I mentioned that we got the HM for Surf. And so I know I went back and visited a couple different areas, and I'm going to assume you guys did the same, right?
Yes.
Okay. I know me personally, I had to go into the Slowpoke well and go down to the bottom floor there, because in the Slowpoke well, that's where you can find a nice little item called the King's Rock that I think both me and Sean are going to find useful. And then also, I think you get the TM for Rain Dance down there, which I definitely taught to my Poliwhirl. So that was actually a really helpful area.
Yeah, I definitely got the King's Rock, but I didn't realize Rain Dance was down there.
I did not even journey to Slowpoke well, so I'll have to definitely do that to get the King's Rock.
To get the King's Rock, you actually have to get access to the HM strength as well. Me and Chris, because we both knew we wanted the King's Rock, we kind of quickly got that. When we get to that town in a later episode, we'll fully divulge where that is. But I just wanted to mention, in order to get strength, you have to go through Route 38, which is to the left of Equity. Basically, when I was going through there, I was trying really hard not to encounter any of the trainers or even Pokemon because, obviously we're going to cover that at a later time in this podcast. But I did encounter one Pokemon that I had to catch. I encountered a Milk Tank. After seeing how overpowered Milk Tank was, and the fact that I've been losing quite a lot in these rounds, I decided to catch it. I named her Milkers, added her to the team. I'm definitely going to be talking about her a lot this episode because she just instantly became my strongest Pokemon just by adding her to the team.
You should definitely teach it Milk Drink and Roll Out.
That might be a little spoiler, Chris. Maybe I did those moves.
It's just going to be a carbon copy of Whitney's Milk Tank.
I mean, she knew what she was doing. I'm just going to elevate it to a new level.
I'm not looking forward to that.
A couple other places I went to in Cherry Grove City. If you go all the way back, there's a little bit of surfable water there, and you can actually get the Mystic Water, which is a held item that increases the attack power of water moves. So I picked that up to give to my Poliwhirl. Also, before I even dive into this, did you guys go exploring the Union Cave again?
I did.
Did you guys happen to explore it on a Friday?
I did not.
Same.
Oh, that is so disappointing. I'm sure Sean is aware of this, but Dustin, do you know what Pokemon you can encounter in the Union Cave on a Friday?
I believe it is a Lapras. I've tried to encounter it multiple times. I want to say I did go there on the weekend because I thought it was just any weekend day, but is it only Friday that you can encounter a Lapras?
Yeah, it's only Friday that Lapras will be there. If you go down, I think that's like the second basement floor, you have to do a little bit of surfing. On Friday, it'll be in that little pool of water there, and you can catch it, which I did.
So you, who had a Lapras on your team last playthrough, are the only one who decided to go through that to catch the Lapras.
I was so dedicated to that day that I caught it. It's a Friday, so we all have lives, right? I was doing something and then got home at, I think, 9 at night. And I tell my wife, sorry, honey, I need to open up my Pokemon game. Lapras is going to be gone for a whole nother week if I don't do this right now. 10 o'clock at night, I catch this Lapras and immediately go to bed.
I am writing down notes myself because I have a lot to do, it seems, in between our next episode.
Yeah, I didn't know about the Mystic Water. That's definitely something that we could all use. We mentioned that we went to the Slowpoke Cave to get the King's Rock, but we didn't mention which Pokemon we got out of it, even though for our astute audience members who've been here from the beginning could probably assume which Pokemon we got. But Chris, what Pokemon did you use the King's Rock and a trade to evolve?
Well, people have been paying attention. I have a Poliwhirl on my team, so I traded Poliwhirl holding a King's Rock to get a Politoad.
And I, as people know, have a Slowpoke on my team, and so I traded with the King's Rock to get a Slowking. We both added 2 very powerful water Pokemon, and so we'll see how that changes everything going forward.
While we're at it, Dustin did one little trade with me as well to get a Pokemon.
Yes, so there was one Pokemon that was training all throughout last episode on the way up to Morty. And I mean, Morty did have some influence because he has a bunch of ghost Pokemon. So I did add a Gengar to my team, thanks to Chris.
Love Gengar. That's a very strong Pokemon these generations. I mean, it's crazy how Gengar, from just its introduction, even this generation, each like subsequent generation, it gets a little bit stronger. I think Gen 6 is where it just absolutely peaks. It's one of the strongest Pokemon. And then unfortunately, Game Freak realizes how strong it is and they nerfed him. Gengar is awesome that you're able to add it to your team. It's one of my favorites.
This is actually my first time using a Gengar on my team. I've never actually traded a Haunter before. So I'm very excited to use him and see how he does against you guys in the Johto Battles.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about this generation, because technically last season, Sean and I were both playing on actual hardware, but Dustin wasn't, so he didn't have the ability to trade, and I think we both kind of felt like it would be unfair if we were getting Alakazams and Gengars, and Dustin didn't have an opportunity to get it.
But you know the funniest thing about Gen 1 is Dustin was the only person with a trade evolution because he had the Machamp.
That's true.
I know, I thought about that, and it almost feels unfair, but since it's an in-game trade...
Hey, you guys could have got him.
No, we couldn't have. That in-game trade, it was yellow exclusive.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It caught me off guard the first time you used it. I was like, what? How?
Same. It's funny that you mentioned Rain Dance being in the Slowpoke Cave, because it wasn't until I was in Union Cave, which is the first time I realized that weather was a part of Gen 2, because I always just thought it was a Gen 3 exclusive thing because of the gimmick Pokemon that is based on the weather that we'll talk about a long time from now. I remember encountering a Poliwhirl that used Rain Dance, and it was just like, wow, rain is actually a thing here. That's awesome.
I guess you're right. I never thought about that. And I just kind of figured it was in Gen 1 too, just because I didn't think about it. But no, we did not have any weather conditions there. So I guess Gen 2. I mentioned in the very beginning of this season that Gen 2 really introduced a lot of things that became staples during the whole franchise. And weather happens to be one of them.
Yeah, and so I have a couple more stories about Union Cave just because the Pokemon trainers were really strong there. I was not expecting them to be so high leveled. I spent a lot of time in there just because I wanted to explore it, kind of knowing I wasn't going to try it for the Lapras. But I don't know if you guys realize this, but there's still an item limit in your bag. I had the first revelation of that while in Union Cave, and it's just so frustrating that this is still a thing and that I have to put items into the PC or toss them or sell them. Just stupid. Also, there is one trainer who got so excited from what he said that I put my Game Boy down so aggressively that the battery fell out, and so I had to redo Union Cave all over again. And it was the last trainer that I encountered that said, there are two people in this world, those who have style and those who don't. Who are you? I don't know why I got so excited from that, but I knew I had to write it down. and basically wasted 30 minutes and had to do the whole Union Cave all over again.
Oh, no.
But I just want to say, I do have style.
That's really funny. What is this now, the second episode in a row where you've had your batteries fall out?
Yep. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I do have at least one note from the Union Cave, which is actually going to be my Pokédex highlight. When you go through Union Cave and then come out on the other side, I'm able to capture a Smeargle in Pokemon Silver, which is basically the Pokemon that has like a little ping tail. And its Pokédex for Pokemon Silver reads, once it becomes an adult, it lets its comrades plant footprints on its back. And I did not quite fully understand what that meant. Planting footprints on its back.
If you look at its Pokemon sprite, it has a footprint on its back. I think that means Smeargle, the painting Pokemon, paints its footprint and plants it on its back.
I think it's just that terminology, the planting, is what got me. Because we do have, obviously, grass Pokemon. So I'm trying to think, like, oh, does it grow something on its back? But that makes more sense, just painting.
Yeah, Smeargle is actually one of the most powerful Pokemon because of its unique move, Sketch, which could become any move. And so you could find some of the strongest moves to give it to your Smeargle and no one will ever know.
Smeargle is in the same category as Sudowoodo, where it is pretty rare. Like, where you found it, Dustin, is the only place you can find it in the entire game. And I feel like that's not a spot that you just randomly go to, because you kind of pass it during your story, and then you actually have to go back to go ahead and find Smeargle. And then even in Gen 3, it's not in Ruby and Sapphire. It's in one post-game cave in Emerald. I mean, this is a pretty rare Pokemon.
That's like the only time I remember having a Smeargle was I did have play through Emerald. And when I encountered the first time, I had like no idea what type of Pokemon this was.
Did anyone do any other exploring?
I did. I went to south of Goldenrod City, which is Route 34. This is actually where the daycare center is. So I guess there's two things to talk about here. First, if you go into the water there, you'll encounter 3 Pokemon trainers, which I am dubbing the Elite Trio. The reason being is that when you get there, they're all facing you at equal distance. So then you'll face the first one, and they'll have water Pokemon, I believe. But yeah, you face the first one, and then the next one just comes battling again. And then once you beat the second one, the third one immediately battles you. So you don't have a break in between all 3. And it was kind of difficult for me. I was down to only my Crocna. All 3 trainers took out my entire Pokemon team. And this was also my first encounter with Pokemon trainers using the ability Recover, which was so frustrating. So it took me a while, but I finally beat them. And I received Soft Sand, which you can use to help increase ground moves, I believe.
I had no idea those trainers were there. Now I kind of want to go back and face them.
Me too.
That was the challenge.
Well, there's not a whole lot of really strong trainers, at least none that we've faced up to this point. So I also took note of the ones that Sean faced in the cave, because they also had some kind of unique Pokemon too. I think one of them had all the Kanto starters, and one of them had some of the evolutions. So definitely once you face something strong, it's noteworthy in this generation.
Yeah, I remember the first trainer you see has a Kangaskhan. I was like, oh, I remember Kangaskhan. Very strong Pokemon. And I think I was training my Miltank at the time. It took down my Miltank with a 1 critical hit Mega Punch. And I was like, wow, did not expect that to happen.
Was it a throwback to Madam Web?
It was. Oh, what a great movie.
Before we leave the section, Route 34, the daycare center, I did leave one Pokemon in the daycare center earlier, so I decided now was probably a good time to pick them up, until I realized that I didn't have any money to pick up my Pokemon. So it wasn't until like right before the gym that I was finally able to pick them up. I was like, okay, maybe I could use this in our trainer battles. And then I decided not to because I felt like it'd be cheating. So I'll let you guys know after we beat the gym what Pokemon that was and what level they came out to be.
Oh, yikes. One other place I went to, which I really couldn't explore too much, but I thought there's more to explore with Surf, was the Dark Cave. And right at that time, I got a call from my mom. As I mentioned before, she does buy you stuff throughout the game. My mom said she bought me a doll and to come back to my room to see it. And I was just very intrigued on what type of doll my mom could have gotten me. And so I come back and it was a Charmander, a little Charmander doll that I put on my little bedside. And so I don't care what any of you guys say, it is worth giving your mom money for the Charmander doll because it's the cutest thing ever to see in the little Gen 2 pixelated like Charmander. And then I checked how much money she had. At the time, I only had like $4,000 and she had $9,000. I didn't really take any, but now I know if I ever need money, I just need to go back to her and I'll have it. Savings accounts, kids, use them.
Don't waste all your money on Pokeballs like Dustin and I have.
Yeah, you can't buy your Pokemon back.
I forget, can your mom buy you the evolutionary stones as well?
Yes, she can. She bought me a Moonstone, even though I don't really have any Pokemon I plan on using it on. Still pretty cool that I got a Moonstone.
That's actually huge, because I forget if you can get access to Nidorina. You can definitely get a Nidoran at this point, so that means you could have a Nidoqueen or a Nidoking if your mom is able to buy you that stone.
Maybe I should add a Nidoking since I had my Queenie last time, but we're going to move away from that.
Kingy, oh boy. But yeah, like compared to the first generation at this point, you're able to get so many Moonstones. And now for like me and Chris, we still have yet to encounter a Moonstone.
No, but one thing that you can do in Crystal only, at least in Generation 2, there's certain trainers that you can register their phone number and they will get stones for you. They'll call you and say, hey, I found something on the ground. I'll give it to you. And so I was actually able to get a water stone from one of the trainers, which I did use on a Pokemon during this episode, but it's not a Pokemon that I'm going to use on my team. But it's kind of funny how I guess if I would have waited a bit, theoretically, I could have turned my Poliwhirl into a Poliwrath, but it's okay. I'm pretty happy with my Politoed.
And that's huge because in mine and Dustin's Gold and Silver, we don't have access to any of the evolutionary Fire, Leaf, or Water Stones until Kanto. So we can't even consider that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty unfair if I was getting some Firestones and getting Arcanines and stuff. The last thing I'll say before we move on, I mean, look how long we just talked about doing all of our surf side quests. And I think that's a testament to the really well-designed Johto region that they did, because the region is designed so well that you're able to go to so many different cities. And then once you get different abilities, so much more unlocks, but then it also unlocks a bunch of shortcuts. And I think it's pretty difficult to build a really good Pokemon generation where it's not super linear, but it's also not super confusing. So I think I've been finding that they did a really, really good job designing the Johto region.
I completely agree with that. Just because the fact that when you go to like Goldenrod City, then there's like a little tree cut that you can go, which takes you back to the first city, Violet. You're also able to go up north to Ecruteak. So that's just 3 cities that it's so close together just because of those shortcuts that open up.
We can move on now to our actual journey. And I think we've alluded to this in the past, and it totally goes hand in hand with what I was just saying. Johto is very well designed. And so therefore, at that point, once you get Surf and you get to this point, the region kind of opens up a lot. And so what we could do is go to the left of Ecruteak City and go down that path. But instead, because this is our podcast and we designed which way we're going to go, we went to the right, to Route 42 towards Mahogany Town.
Yeah, and there's really like nothing that happens on Route 42. But do you guys have any stories just traveling this very, very short route?
I do. There was one of those trainers that we encountered was named Fisher Chris. So we found Chris in Gen 2.
That one is not named Chris in my game. He's named Tully. That is so disappointing. That's actually the one that gives me the Water Stone too. I'm going to pretend that's Chris. Chris is awesome.
That's literally my only note that I have on this route.
I don't have any notes. I don't have anything I could share.
We do have 2 new encounters. If you go and headbutt a couple trees, you now have access to Heracross and Aipom.
Aipom has always been one of my favorite Pokemon, even though it sucks. But it just, I don't know why, it just looks so cool to me. But I did not try to get it. I know Heracross is a powerhouse, always has been. Did you get those Pokemon, Chris?
I did, and I was actually getting really frustrated because I mentioned this in the last time that we talked about headbutting trees, but basically there's a really complicated way of mapping the route where it looks at your trainer ID, and then certain spots on the map will have trees that give you regular Pokemon, and then certain trees will give you the Heracross. And especially in this one, it's confusing because 2 of the 3 Pokemon overlap. Every tree will give you a Spearow and an Apom, and only the bad trees will give you Ekans, and the good trees will give you Heracross. But essentially, if you're just getting Spearows and Apoms, you have no idea if you've hit the right tree or not until you find either an Ekans or a Heracross. So I spent an hour trying to find this Heracross before I finally gave up. And there's a wonderful website. I'm going to need to Google it real quickly to give it a proper shout out. But it literally has you type in your trainer ID and will show you which trees you need to headbutt. I did that and I got my Heracross.
I completely feel that, Chris, because I also went through the same experience trying to get Heracross.
So the website that has this is called tshadowknight.com. And then so from there, you pick your route, which in this case was 42. Then you type in your trainer ID, and then it kind of maps it out and shows you which trees are most likely to give you the good encounters.
I feel like this is cheating.
It's just data mining. The only other thing I have to say about Route 42 is that there is a cave called Mount Mortar, but I'm pretty sure we agreed to do it later because there's some HMs that you need to do in the cave that we don't have access to get the full experience.
Yeah.
But the only thing of note is that Meryl is found in Mount Mortar, and surprisingly, it is the only place you can find a Meryl in gold and silver.
Wow.
That is strange, especially for Meryl was one of the few Johto Pokemon that was introduced before the games came out in the anime, right?
It was supposed to be the new mascot, Peekaboo. When it first got leaked, people thought its name would be Peekaboo because it looked like a Pikachu, but it was blue.
And it has like a really low encounter rate. I think in Crystal it goes up to 30% if you're surfing, but in Gold and Silver, I'm only seeing it at a 1% encounter rate. Wow. And you can do a Meryl swarm if you talk to the right person and they say that Meryl is swarming, then it goes up to 40%. But other than that, I don't know why Meryl is such a rare Pokemon in this game.
Which Meryl does start a very consistent tradition in the Pokemon company in every generation introducing a new Pikachu clone, which Meryl is one of the very, very few that's a different type. Because as you will see with every other generation we play, they're typically electric type. But in this generation, it's a blue water type that it definitely is the chubbier version of Pikachu embodied.
Way into Mahogany Town, also known as Home of the Ninja, is what one of the signs mentioned.
There really isn't much you could do when we just first get to the town because there's someone standing in front of the gym. If you go all the way to the east, there's an individual who stops you and tells you to explore some more. I think he offers you a Rage candy bar as well, which I know I didn't have enough money to buy at the time because I had to buy a bunch of Pokeballs. Yeah, your first encounters here are just the first things you could do is very limited.
Yeah, and I thought like if you bought the Rage candy from this guy, he would let you through. And when you walk through again, he just offers you another one. So all he does is sell those Rage candies.
And they're identical to potions, so I don't really understand their use.
There is a sketchy shop also that sells some different items, one of those being a Slowpoke tail.
Sketchy.
Which it was much cheaper than the previous guy who was trying to sell it for like $1 million Pokédollars.
Did anyone buy a Slowpoke tail?
Too expensive. It's like 9,000, I think, still.
It's the same price as those vitamins, like the proteins and all that.
I'm just asking because I wonder what it does.
I can't even buy my Pokemon out of the daycare center. I can't buy a Slowpoke tail yet.
The daycare is holding your Pokemon hostage. But yeah, the Slowpoke tail does nothing. It is to be sold at a high price, but it is still sold at half the price you buy it at. So it actually does nothing. The only other note I have is that there's a guy, I think in the Pokemon Center, that says that the experiments went well and that the Gyarados are huge moneymakers. I wonder what that means.
Maybe it's time to head up north and find out. So yeah, when we go north, it is now Route 43. It's very sad because when you go up, you have the option to either keep on going left through the wild grass and the trainers, or you could go through right, which is like a little route passage building that we're kind of accustomed to. But if you go that way, you try and walk by, you have to pay a fee to keep on going up. Does anyone remember the amount of money we have to pay?
1,000 Pokedollars is what I wrote down.
See, and that's pretty expensive, especially in this generation. I know I was kind of intrigued because I had enough to afford it the first time around, but then I didn't have much money. I was like, what happens if you go in without enough money and you just take all your money?
Those youngsters and Oliver Olivine City, he would not let that stand.
Any other stories on Route 43?
I did capture a Pokemon, which I did include into my party, and it's the second Pokedex highlight of the episode. I caught a Girafarig. The Pokedex reads, its tail, which also contains a small brain, may bite on its own if it notices an alluring smell. Well, I didn't realize its tail had its own brain that could think on its own.
It's a very unique design.
Yeah, it has that little face. I had no idea there's a brain in there.
And I guess I should reveal the name for it. The name for the Girafarig is Captain Chomp.
That points out that there are multiple Pokemon on this route that I cannot catch in the entire game. That being the Mareep and Flaffy line and Girafarig. They are completely locked out of Crystal, so I couldn't catch that if I wanted to. But if I could, I would catch a Girafarig and I would name it its name backwards.
Girafarig.
Yeah, fun fact. Girafarig is a palindrome. It is the same spelled forwards and backwards. Last note, though, although I can't catch those Pokemon, in Crystal only, you can find a Farfetch'd in this route. So I did catch Farfetch'd, and I noted that I really like its sprite. It looks really cool.
Did you add it to your team, Chris?
Nope, I left Farfetch'd in the box.
This was also where I encountered a trainer who said some Sire VV guy came and made fun of my Pokemon, which is the rival, but, you know, that's what they're known to do. Those guys from Vermilion City, you know, making fun of everyone's Pokemon.
I made a note of that too, because I felt bad for him. And then he throws out Nidoking. I'm like, wow, how do you make fun of a Nidoking? This is a cool Pokemon. Yeah, I don't have any other notes. Well, I guess I do actually have one note, just confusing that there's one trainer you encounter here who has a level 10 and a level 15 Gyarados. Just makes me mad, because that's not possible to get a level 10 Gyarados or a level 15 Gyarados. We find that happens a lot in this generation. Yeah, if you keep on going up north, you eventually reach Lake of Rage.
So the Lake of Rage, we got some interesting things happening there. We got, what it sounds like is that there's a bunch of Gyarados in the water, and they are going crazy.
See, but just like, how do you name a place Lake of Rage, and then you get mad when all the Gyaradoses are filled with rage? Like, come on.
Well, apparently it was called the Lake of Rage because it was actually, the crater itself was created by a raging Gyarados itself.
Really impressive.
And then the crater ended up filling with rainwater before forming the entire lake. So that goes to show like how much power these Pokemon actually have, because you don't really get to see that outside of normal Pokemon battles.
But there is something interesting in this lake, because it's not just a normal Gyarados that's raging. What's wrong with this Gyarados, Chris?
I found a shiny Pokemon. Did you guys also find a shiny Pokemon in the middle of the lake?
Chris, was this the shiny Pokemon?
If this is really a shiny Pokemon, I'm really mad at you, Chris.
That's the shiny Pokemon I was talking about.
Everyone collectively boo at Chris. Boo.
Boo. Okay, I have to take that shiny title back from Chris. He can no longer win it this generation.
Chris gets -1 shinies now for being a dummy.
I thought I happened to just find a 1 in 8,000 chance of that Pokemon being shiny. I had no idea.
You're dumb, Chris. I hope you didn't catch it.
I guess going into this, so this is the first shiny Pokemon that they introduced that everyone can at least encounter if you never encounter shiny Pokemon ever again. I was just made me wonder why the Pokemon company did include these shiny type Pokemon, because like they're so rare and like most normal Pokemon trainers don't even know that they exist. So do you guys have any idea why they might have included shiny Pokemon?
I don't think there's any in-game explanation for why these Pokemon are colored differently. I think for this Gyarados, there actually is. I think they said something like the Gyarados, they're being forced to evolve, and so their normal Magikarp red scales are not having the time to turn into blue Gyarados scales, so this one happened to be red. So they gave an in-game explanation for this, although doesn't explain the rest of shiny Pokemon.
When was Red Gyarados introduced in the anime?
The first shiny Pokemon introduced in the anime, which is actually, I remember because going off on a tangent, I used to have the little cassette tapes after Ash completed his journey in Kanto when he went to the Orange Islands. And so I had those cassette tapes, and then that goes into him going to Johto. And I remember because he catches a shiny Noctowl. And so that's the first shiny Pokemon introduced in the actual anime. I believe there is an episode on a golden Magikarp as well.
And you guys know why they're called shiny Pokemon or when they officially became called shiny Pokemon?
No.
So the first question, why are they called shiny Pokemon? It's because, as you guys probably saw, when you battle the Gyarados at the very beginning, some stars circle around it and it makes a little shiny sound, like a little plink. And the reason they did that was because if you were playing Gold or Silver on an original Game Boy, which you could do, the game was not in color, and so you probably would have not been able to realize that this was a differently colored Gyarados or differently colored Pokemon. So they had that little noise and the little animation, so you for sure could tell there was a visual cue that this was a special Pokemon. And then we called shiny Pokemon because of that. Basically, it made that little noise and that little sparkle that they shined. And so the Pokemon Company actually never addressed these Pokemon for a while, but then finally in Gen 4, they did a distribution of a shiny Pokemon, and on the little card that you get with it, I forget what it is, but they mentioned that it was a shiny Pokemon, and that was the first time Pokemon officially adopted that name. So I think the name actually started with fans and then got adopted by Pokemon as a whole.
Well, I can't wait for all of us to find our natural, non-static shiny encounter. And I really hope it's not Chris.
Oh, these guys are never going to trust me ever again.
Nope. I'll just ask then, did everyone catch the red Gyarados?
Yes.
Yeah, it actually took me 2 tries because this Gyarados is pretty strong. It's level 30. Gyarados is already a very strong Pokemon. It knows Thrash, which is a strong move. And it also knows Dragon Rage, which for those who don't remember, that does exactly 40 HP. And so for a Pokemon like my Shuckle, that completely tears it apart. So this was pretty difficult, but I did catch it on my second attempt.
Yeah, it took me 2 tries to catch it too.
As a true Pokemon hunter, it only took me 1 time to capture that Pokemon. The first shiny, you better believe I'm taking that thing down.
After the Gyarados, we then land back on the land, and we encounter a trainer named Lance. Very peculiar, because I think we encountered a trainer named Lance last year, but last generation. I think it's cool, because I don't remember if in Gen 1 when you encounter him, if his cape is very noticeable, but you can very easily see he's wearing a cape, and you're like, oh, this is a cool guy. And he asks for your help to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, he says that the Magikarp are being forced to evolve, and so that's why we have Rampaging Gyarados. However, if you're surfing, there's a 90% chance of finding a Magikarp, so I don't know what he's talking about. And then I thought it was funny. He kind of just miraculously floats away, or I think disappears, which I think is meant to mean that he flies away on his Dragonite. Before we leave Lake of Rage, did you guys go around on the left side of the trees and go take a look at the route that's to the side of the lake?
Nope.
I did.
So, Sean, for reference, there is a side path with some pretty good items, actually. You can get a full restore there. You can get a rare candy. If you go all the way to the back, there's a house, and the man there gives you TM10, which is hidden power. And not to get too much into the weeds, but hidden power can be any type of move except normal. It just depends on your specific Pokemon. So that's a very interesting move that could be helpful. One more thing. I was doing this on a Wednesday, and there happened to be a random NPC there called Wesley. And have you guys encountered any of these guys, any of the weekday siblings?
Nope.
No.
Okay, I've known about these, but I have not encountered them yet. But I happened to naturally encounter this guy. So in the Lake of Rage, in a specific spot, you can find Wesley on a Wednesday, and he will give you the black belt, which increases the power of fighting type moves. And there's one NPC for every day of the week. You have Monica, Tuscany, Wesley, Arthur, Frida, Santos, and Sunny. And they all give you different items. They're all in different spots throughout the map, and you can only find them on their respective days. So I actually may leave it as ambiguous of where to find these guys, just in case you guys find them naturally throughout your gameplay.
I doubt I will, but if I do, I'll note it.
I'll try and seek them out, but it's so hard to play during the weekday and find a certain trainer.
Yeah, I got really lucky on this one that I just happened to be there. Although, if he's there, he actually blocks the spot where you can get the rare candy because he's standing where you need to be. So that's kind of annoying. And after you talk to him, he doesn't go away. You have to basically play the next day.
I do have one additional note of this area where, at least maybe not in Lake Rage, but more so Route 43 that I forgot to mention. But this was where I am training my Pokemon to do all the trade evolutions with Chris. Because I did trade all of the Generation 1 Pokemon that you could trade to evolve to get Gengar, Alakazam, Golem, and Machamp. While I was doing all this training, my batteries died out. And I lost 30 minutes of training and gameplay, so I felt very bad. It was at 27 hours of gameplay before the batteries could die, which is actually a really long time, considering that now if you're playing on your Nintendo Switch and you usually charge that, I don't think it can last nearly as long.
That's impressive that you've gone that far without changing the batteries.
I should have noticed though, because the light was getting dim. I was thinking, is that power indicating the actual power going in? But I was like, nah, it's not. That just turned off.
Can't wait until we're done with all these Game Boy Advances and Game Boy Colors, because technically the next generation's on a Game Boy Advance, but we got Nintendo DS's for that. So we now have to investigate that mysterious signal, so why not go back to Mahogany Town and investigate those shady guys selling in that house?
And when we go in, we see Lance is already beating us, and you see a very powerful Dragonite beating everyone up.
And this actually takes place inside of the house where they have the sketchy dealings that market. And since this was my first time playing, I was quite surprised. I didn't think he was that sketchy, but looks like he was, because they have a hidden pathway underneath.
And that's where we find out it's a Team Rocket hideout. What?
Team Rocket? I thought we defeated them last time.
I thought they blasted off again. So, I wanted to say, my theory is that this hideout used to be a ninja hideout, and that Team Rocket came over and took it over. Because, as we all know, through exploring this hideout, there are a lot of booby traps around. Just makes sense that this is where the ninjas were hiding.
That's what I think too, because there's some fun little things that you can do in the Rocket hideout that kind of ninja-like, and what Sean was just mentioning. So I don't really think that connection needed to be in the overworld, but hey, it's there.
I would say it would be really cool if we found out that this is where Koga was from or something like that. Which, who knows, maybe that could still be within the Pokemon lore that this is where he's from, but there's no overt, anything telling us that, which is kind of sad.
I don't have that much to say about the Team Rocket hideout. All I did notice is that the Pokemon are pretty weak there, surprisingly weak, and that made for really boring battles that guys kept running up to me one by one and just saying, hey, intruder alert, I'm going to battle you. And then I was just button mashing because I was so bored.
Yeah, it's very sad when you go in front of the statue, it's always 2 Team Rocket members, and they always have the same Pokemon as the last 2 you just fought. And so there's no variety, just the same. I think it's Drowsy and a Zubat, and I can't remember what the other one had, but it's just very repetitive, and they're weighing level 20, if I'm remembering correctly. So they're just super easy to take care of. Yeah, I really don't have much to say.
I do. I did capture another Pokemon here, which is actually the 3rd Pokedex highlight of the episode. In the Team Rocket hideout, you're able to capture a Voltorb, and the Pokedex reads, it was discovered when Pokeballs were introduced. It is said that there's some connection. I mean, it kind of makes sense that you would build a Pokeball based off of this Pokemon since it looks just like a Pokeball. Do you guys think the Pokeball or the Voltorb came first?
That's a great question because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but let's just say in a very recent Pokemon title you played before Pokeballs are invented, wouldn't you find out there are very strange Voltorbs in that timeline? So I think they happened at the same time.
And obviously in real life, the game developer said, what Pokemon could we do? How about one that looks exactly like a Pokeball?
Honestly, Voltorb has one of my most favorite shiny designs, because if you encounter it as a shiny, it turns blue and it looks like a great ball. And that's just so smart.
Glad we hammered that in. I guess we'll find out when we play Pokemon Legends Arceus. Otherwise, inside, there's 2 passwords that you have to gather. I thought Lance would help you get one of the passwords, but nope, you were all on your own, getting both passwords from the Team Rocket grunts before you can make it inside. It was interesting because maybe it's one of the people who had the passwords, but it was a scientist, and they said that they're from Silph Co. So when Team Rocket previously in the first generation took over Silph Co., I guess a few of the scientists transitioned over. Maybe they saw there's more money to be made. And then you also find he is actually the one who created this device that made the Pokemon go mad. And I also took a note that on one of the walls, you can actually see the Team Rocket oath.
Oh, what is it?
There's 3 things. You steal Pokemon for profit, exploit Pokemon for profit, and all Pokemon exists for the glory of Team Rocket, which basically means all Pokemon exists to make profit.
Sounds like a corporate America mindset. On that depressing note, I will mention that you do get a very useful TM in the Team Rocket hideout, and that is the TM for Thief. For those of you guys who are listening at home, the reason why we are going this way is because I wanted Thief specifically so I could get a metal coat to evolve my Onix that I've been using. And we won't get to it in this episode, but I will tell that story at another time if I do get that metal coat. But Thief is a very vital move to use in order to get a metal coat before the Elite Four in this generation.
So yeah, to get through the hideout, you end up getting the passwords, and then there was the one password. You had to talk to like a little Murkrow, right? To get the last password. I thought that was kind of clever that you have to talk to the little bird. It took me a while to figure that out, to be honest.
Did we have the passwords?
I think one of them was Slowpoke Tail. I think the other one was Raticate Tail.
And the Murkrow one was Hail Giovanni.
You find Giovanni's office also in this hideout, but one of the guys says he's just been missing and training for the past 3 years. So they're just waiting for his return. After all of this, you do end up being on Team Rocket, and you find out that it's these radio signals that are making all the Pokemon go mad. And you have to actually faint all the electrode that are powering this facility and the radio tower, which I thought was really cool because it felt more like a RPG in this sense. The first time you actually have to faint a Pokemon that actually is interacting with the world, I felt, in a way. Maybe there's Snorlax, which was blocking your path, but this felt more like an actual quest that you had to complete.
Definitely. I will say, I was kind of sad that the executives that we fight, they don't have any name. It's just Team Rocket Executive. I don't know, just it would have been nice to give them some more flair, some more character to be like, okay, I'm not fighting Giovanni, but I'm still fighting so-and-so. I know for the electrodes, I really want to catch one because I'm pretty sure you can, but they all just exploded on me, so I wasn't able to catch any of them.
I caught one of them. I was able to put it to sleep before it exploded. And then the rest of them, I actually went through a strategy where I'd bring out my Shuckle, pray that it didn't use Sonic Boom, and so then they kept exploding on my Shuckle, and it would lose 7 hit points whenever it would explode. It was such a fun wall.
This is where having Gengar comes in clutch, because it doesn't deal any damage to Ghost Pokemon.
Does it still faint if it uses Explode and it doesn't hit?
It does faint, yes.
Yeah, so that's Team Rocket Hideout. We finish it, and then Lance is like, oh, you're a pretty strong trainer. Maybe I'll see you later. Cryptic.
He gives you HM06 Whirlpool, which I cannot believe that they included a second Water HM in this generation.
Second, hold your breath, Chris. There might be another one.
Oh my gosh, you're right. What a waste of a move. And I'm pretty sure that Whirlpool obstacles only show up once or twice. So I'm like, why did they even do this?
Because why not, Chris?
Oh, and this is where I can go back and say, I used my Water Stone on an Eevee to get a Vaporeon, and I taught that Vaporeon Whirlpool because I'm not teaching that to my Politoed. It's a horrible move. It's like Fire Spin, except water, low power, low accuracy. It's useless. So that's why I hate the Hideout, because it's really boring. The trainers are bad. There's not a lot of fun lore, and you get a horrible HM in there.
So heading into the gym of this segment, this is our 5th gym. What were your Pokemon that you took in? We're still keeping the 4 Pokemon until we reach a gym leader that has 5 Pokemon.
I guess I'll start. Added my new Milkers, the Milk Tank. She is quite literally a tank. Love her to death. I have my Pikafluff, still a Flaffy at this point. Quilava, of course, Cinder the Quilava. And then Thinker the Slowking.
Oh, so you finally took out Onyx for this league with that Miltank.
Yeah, I decided just because Rock is super effective against ice types, but then Ice is super effective against ground types. And so I knew Ice Gym, if I evolved it to a Steelix beforehand, maybe I would have brought it in, but still, I think Miltank was the correct decision here.
This segues me into my evolutions that I had in this episode. So did any of you guys evolve your Eevee yet or no?
Nope.
No.
So I'll take the first stab then. As we can remember from the last episode, you can get either an Espeon or an Umbreon. I think Sean is aiming for one. I think I'm aiming for the other one. I can't confirm yet. And Dustin is in the dark. So my strategy was, as I mentioned, to breed the Eevee so that its happiness was higher at level 5 and then level it up. So at level 30, I finally evolved it during the day to Espeon.
Why did you wait till level 30 to evolve it?
It learns Bite.
But you know, Espeon learns Confusion at level 16.
Yeah, I don't think I could have gotten it to max friendship before level 16, because that's a lot of friendship it needs to get before it evolves. I think it started evolving at level 22 or 23, and I just kept stopping it until level 30. That's actually kind of unfortunate that it learns Confusion so early, and now it won't learn Psybeam until 36. I went to the name raider and renamed Espeon to ESPN.
Hey, da-da-da, da-da-da.
Little pun on Psychic ESP, but also with an N, so now it's sports. Okay, so then from there, my Teddy Ursa evolved into Ursaring at level 30. We already mentioned my Politoed, which evolved due to trading this episode. My Magby evolved into Magmar at level 30. So all my Pokemon are evolved except Shuckle, which does not evolve. And then my starter, which is kind of embarrassing that that's the last Pokemon I think about. But my Bayleaf is level 30. It evolves at level 32. So I was supposed to get it to level 32 so I'd have an all-evolved team, but I really just don't care about Bayleaf. Sorry, Chica. The 4 Pokemon I brought in then were Shuckle, Ursaring, Politoed, and Espeon.
So going through my Pokemon I took, I already mentioned Girafarig, Captain Chomp, Krokna, Admiral Todd, Sudowoodo, Lieutenant Banyan, and then Gengar, who I named Rear Admiral Scar, because he's kind of scary. I can't put the Y at the very end, and I put him at the Rear Admiral because he will be my second most used Pokemon. So I only have 2 confirmed Pokemon I'm taking to the end of this game, and it's just right now my starter and Gengar. Everyone else is interchangeable at the moment.
I will say, I know during my first playthrough, during the Kanto run, I was switching my team out a lot. But I've been very consistent this time around and only adding Pokemon and not really switching any of them out.
Oh, I've been swapping Pokemon the entire time. I'm the opposite of Sean. I'm not even married to ESPN. That might be gone by next episode.
Well, yeah, so Chris, you got the Espeon. You believe I'm going for the Umbreon. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Now, Dustin's going to have to make a decision if he wants to add anything to the team, which one he wants.
We'll see how that one shakes out. I'm just going to evolve it when it evolves now.
See, I think you're going for Umbreon, but I'm like waiting for next episode for you to say, well, your decision changed my mind. I have an Espeon now. Let's battle.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that just to mess with you. But now the actual gym itself, I'll say I forgot how much I hate these ice puzzles. I don't really have any stories for any of the traders other than the gym leader. But just getting to him took me like 20 minutes. And when I finally did get to him, I was literally just like pressing up, down, right, like randomly, because I just gave up. And I was literally like in the process of like, should I look up how to do this? Because I can't find him until I just randomly got to him. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I also struggled a little bit. I was so embarrassed because it's really not that hard. And so I was like, come on, I have a college degree, right? I can figure out a simple child puzzle, but no, I felt like the people who try and put the round peg into the square hole or whatever it is, I'm like, I just feel so stupid right now.
I was the same. It did take some time. I just did my own thing. I kept going randomly until I went to like each trainer. And then afterwards, I went around a little bit more until I realized like, oh, I actually have to like think about this. I can't just randomly get there.
There were like at least 5 times where I thought that I solved it. And I was like, oh, I just have to do this. And then I'd end up at a wall.
Oh, I should mention, you asked about my milk tank. It did learn milk drink. And something I found out is that you could actually use milk drink out of battle. And what it does is milk tank takes damage and then it heals another Pokemon, which was something I think like right before the gym is when it learned that. And I just figured that out. Pryce, the ice gym leader. Who wants to go first on their story of the great battle?
I will mention, just talking to some of the people in the gym, you do find out that Pryce meditates under a waterfall daily to strengthen his mind and body. And he has trained Pokemon for 50 years, so this is a very hardcore trainer. I'm looking forward to when we do encounter that fighting type gym leader just to see like what does he do if this ice type trainer's doing the waterfall like trope that you usually see the fighters do. Otherwise, this one was a bit of a challenge for me because all those dugongs that you face against and seals and just all the recovers, it took forever to take the Pokemon out. For my Pokemon battle, it did get down to the very last Pokemon, which was my Gengar against the Piloswine. And I basically put it to sleep and was able to use Nightmare, which deals like 25% of the Pokemon health each turn. And that's what ended up helping me win. But my Gengar did get very low on health, so I was close to fainting at this gym. But I was able to do it in one try.
This is the first gym that I beat on my first try as well.
Yeah!
Finally. Although my strategy failed because I brought in Shuckle first. And my thought was it knows Rollout, which is a rock type move, and ice Pokemon are weak to rock moves. So it goes Shuckle versus Seal. So I use Rollout. It is normal damage because Seal is only a water type. It is not an ice type. But it can't really do much against me because all of its moves are pretty weak and Shuckle just has crazy good defense. So I'm using Rollout. It uses Rest halfway through. So finally, on the 5th Rollout, I take down Seal. So I'm ready to face Piloswine. And so from there, I'm like, perfect. The 6th Rollout, Piloswine is down on 1 hit. Well, I forgot that Rollout stops after its 5th consecutive turn. So I start over again. And, for how weak Shuckle is, it just did chip damage. And guess what? Piloswine is also a ground type, which resists rock moves. So yet again, rock is now normal effective on this Pokemon. And I'm like so angry. So I got halfway into chipping down Piloswine before finally Shuckle goes down. And then from there, I brought out Ursaring just to brute force its way through the rest of Piloswine and then also finally his Dugong. I was so frustrated because my rock strategy was supposed to be good against ice Pokemon, and he brought out 2 consecutive Pokemon that are normally affected by rock, and then his 3rd Pokemon, which would have been perfect to start with, got to live scot-free. But I did it. First try. Only 2 Pokemon.
There you go. Well, now, Chris, where you failed, I greatly succeeded because my Miltank not only knows Rollout, but also knows Defense Curl. And what that means is when you use Defense Curl, Rollout starts at double, and so instead of 30, it starts at 60. So it took me 4 rollouts, and the gym was done.
That's the way to do it.
Miltank didn't even get to below half health. Miltank is quite literally my tank. I got her at much lower level than all my other Pokemon. But throughout this entire time, I probably used her like 80% of the time. And other than the one Kangaskhan that one-shot her with the critical hit, she was putting so much work in. And it's already like my MVP just from this probably like couple hours I've had her.
I am not looking forward to facing that in the Johto Battles. So we do beat Pryce and we do receive the Glacier Badge, which raises the special stats of Pokemon, and it also allows us to use Whirlpool out of battle. Now that we've beaten our gym leader, we can now move on to the Pokestats. gonna start off with who had the least amount of time last time, which is Sean. How many hours did you play?
So I actually spent quite a bit of time, which I didn't fully explain during this run, but I'll explain later. But so my time is now at 18 hours and 52 minutes.
My time is 28 hours and 46 minutes.
For me, I already mentioned at the 27-hour mark was when my batteries died. I played 31 hours and 34 minutes.
See here, I thought 18 hours was a lot. You guys are blowing that out of the water. Oh my god.
So, I mean, it was a big jump. Sean definitely had the biggest that he's ever had because he played more than double since starting this gen. Sean's played 8 hours and 22 minutes since our last episode. Chris has played 9 hours and 24 minutes. And I've played 10 hours and 29 minutes. What have we been doing?
There was so much to explore with all that surfing stuff. Like, no wonder that took us 10 hours to get through this section.
Took you 10 hours, Chris. Took me 8.
So it was about the 6th gym when we reached this point in Kanto. So, I mean, we're still almost playing similar levels, but definitely massive spikes.
Yeah, but have you ever thought about how by your 5th gym leader in yellow, you were facing level 50 Pokemon, Dustin, and now you just faced high 20s?
It was quite a struggle, Pokemon Yellow, that's for sure. So now let's move into total Pokedex, starting off with Sean again.
My Pokedex, which I think is impressive, but probably is not, is 34.
It is not.
How many Pokemon did you capture in the last generation? I want to check, because I think...
I'm pretty sure I just caught up to that.
Yeah, you caught a total of 36 Pokemon last generation, so you almost beat that record.
See, this is a lot from me, guys. I haven't mentioned all the Pokemon I've caught just because there's no point in it, but there's a couple where I think I found a Krabby and like, oh, Krabby's cool, and I caught it. I don't normally do that.
And then I had the second most last time, so I caught a total of 89 Pokemon.
And mine is 93.
You're catching up. Wow, Dustin.
I know, we're close, but I'm not bringing Pokemon yet, and I know Chris has the advantage on all those breeders.
Yeah, been able to breed. Dustin and I both have been able to trade, which has helped boost our numbers a little bit. And funny enough, I thought about this. Technically, I have the ability now to take Sean's Pokemon Red and bring Pokemon up from his save file, like take its starter. But I'm not going to do that yet. I might do that at the very end. From what I know, you can't get any of the Kanto starters, so that might be the only way to do it, plus the legendary birds. If I want to complete that Pokedex, I need your copy because I've already removed the batteries from my copy, so my save file was deleted. So only yours exists.
Mine with the 36 Pokemon in it. You picked the wrong one.
But you have the exclusives. You have Mew, Mewtwo, you have a starter, and you have the legendary trio.
Just to review how many Pokemon we caught since our last episode, Sean has caught 13 Pokemon, I caught 29 Pokemon, and Chris caught 30 Pokemon. So Pokemon catching wise, we are doing kind of similar. So let's go into the levels. I had the lowest average party level, so I can go first. So my Girafarig Captain Chomp is level 29, Croconaw Admiral Tot is level 29, Sudowoodo Lieutenant Banyan is level 29, and my Gengar Rear Admiral Scar is level 30.
So the levels for my team, we have Shucks the Shuckle at level 29, and then every other Pokemon I list is going to be level 30. I'm just not going to say it because it's redundant. So I have Teddy the Ursaring, Wagyu the Politoad, and ESPN the Espeon.
Well, you guys definitely passed me up on levels too. So I have Milkers the Milk Tank at level 28, Pikafluff the Flaffy at level 27, Cinder the Kalava at level 27, and Thinker the Slow King at level 28.
So since our last episode, Sean has gained a total of 3.25 average party levels, and then me and Chris are actually tied at 6 since our last episode. This would be a good time of the podcast to mention that I did go back to Route 34, the daycare center, because after being the gym leaders, I finally had enough money to get my Pokemon, which was Baron Hop the Hoppip. And the reason Hoppip was so expensive was because it's now at level 37, which I did not want to add him to the party because I would be cheating at this point.
37, yeah, it's 10 levels above my weakest.
Maybe if you used it against us, but we're not allowed to evolve it at all. Just keep it at a 37 Hoppip.
Now we're moving into our Johto Battles. This is going to be our 5th Johto Battle of Season 2 so far, where I am surprisingly in the lead. 6 wins and 2 losses. Then we have the steady Chris at 4-4. And then surprisingly Sean is on the bottom with only 2 wins and 6 losses. First match is going to be me versus Chris. What is good against normal? Oh, it's not normal at all. Ooh, but did I plan for this? I did.
You didn't switch out?
I had a strat, Chris, and it did not work.
I wonder what that strat was.
You'll never find out. Oh, damage. Come on.
Flinch.
Oh, flinch.
Yes. Captain Chomp. Let's go.
Chomp.
I got at least take down 1 Pokemon from Chris. Last Pokemon.
Gengar is definitely faster than all Chris's Pokemon.
Oh,
You can't. Dustin. It's a normal type.
it's a normal type.
It can't get hit by ghosts, and vice versa.
Oh no, this is bad. This is my 3rd turn, 4 turns being asleep? 5? The maximum 5 turns? Are you kidding me?
That's what I needed.
Oh my god.
Gengar! Oh, against Magmar, who could pull it out? So, for the first matchup of the day, we had Chris against Dustin, and this was a very heated battle. So Dustin started out with his Lieutenant Banyan, his Sudowoodo, so Chris switched in Wagyu, his Politoed, and Dustin decided not to switch out and was taken out with 1 Surf. Dustin sent out his Croconaw, Admiral Tot, and it was looking, still since Chris's Politoed was a fully evolved Pokemon and pretty bulky, his Surfs were doing much more damage back than Dustin's Surfs were. So Chris was actually able to take out Croconaw as well. So then finally Dustin sent out Captain Chomp, his Girafarig. At this point, Chris switched into his Aw Shucks, the Shuckle, and Dustin was saying that he just wants to take out 1 Pokemon at this point. Dustin was doing some damage to Aw Shucks, but eventually Captain Chomp got taken down, and Dustin was left with 1 Pokemon, Rear Admiral Scar, his Gengar. And oh boy, did Gengar scare Chris, because he put in work. He took out Shuckle pretty quick, and then Chris went to send out his Ursaring, and it was looking like if Chris could get 1 move in, because I'm assuming he had a Dark-type move with that Pokemon, that could have taken down Gengar, but first Dustin got lucky and hit the Hypnosis, and then Chris was asleep for all 5 turns. That allowed Dustin to take down Ursaring, with Dustin even using a Ghost move to start off that had no effect against Ursaring, so Dustin was able then to sweep the rest of the match just with his Gengar. It was pretty impressive, might I say.
Just horrible luck. I mean, also, I missed a rollout. Didn't hit that, fell asleep immediately, was asleep for 5 turns, which I'm looking up now. In Gen 2, you can be asleep up to 6 turns.
I do have to thank Chris, though, because I wouldn't have Gengar without him, and he was the 1 Pokemon that clutched.
I'm never trading again.
Oh, thanks to you, Chris.
We're now moving into our second matchup of the day, which is going to be me versus Sean.
I'm going to show you how it's done, Chris. This is how the real world strategy's done. Oh my god.
Let's see, is this enough to take him out?
Oh!
Yes! Oh, thank god.
Oh, wait, is this a normal?
It's a normal Dustin
Oh!
Thank you, Dustin!
If only Sean's rollout missed after 2 turns like mine did.
My best Pokemon taken out in 1 hit because of a mistake.
I would feel bad for you, Dustin, if you didn't literally make that mistake last battle.
Yeah, you should have never,
I
Dustin.
never learned.
I don't understand that at all.
It's too late, Dustin.
It deals nothing. Oh!
That was quick.
Just some advice going forward, Dustin. So Thunder Punch, that's a special move, and so I know it gives your Sudowoodo coverage, but he has like no special attack. So you should give it to like your Gengar if you could.
You know, as of right now, I will not know the difference between special and normal attacks until we get to Gen 3 when they actually show you which one is which. Because this gen doesn't show you.
We could send you a list on what types are special and which are not.
I don't know if I'll retain that information.
Going to the second battle, it was me versus Dustin, and I led with Milkers the Milktake, and Dustin had Admiral Talk the Croconaw. And I had decided I wanted to show Chris a real rollout strategy, so I used Defense Curl on my Miltank and then used Rollout. Dustin was using Surf that was doing a decent amount of damage, but luckily my rollouts did not miss, and I got 3 rollouts on his Admiral Talk that took him down. And then Dustin sent out his Gengar, which Gengar is the only Pokemon Dustin has that's faster than my Miltank, and Miltank had taken a decent amount of damage. So if Dustin had used any move except a Ghost-type move, he would have taken down Miltank. And you guessed it, he used Shadow Ball, which is a Ghost-type move, which had already happened the last game, so he should have known that Ghost doesn't affect a normal type. But because of that, rollout hit and one-shot his Gengar. And then he sent out Captain Chomp, the Girafarig, and eventually he was able to take down my Miltank because I believe a rollout missed. And then I sent out my Slowking, who then kind of swept with just Surfs, taking out his Girafarig and his Sudowoodo. And so I really showcased the 2 new Pokemon I got during this section because they're the 2 Pokemon I had to use to win.
You know, I'm more of a Pokemon hunter, not a Pokemon master. I still am not retaining those type advantages, sadly.
You took down my Miltank. You had a decent shot of winning because I don't know how I would have taken down your Gengar. That's a very strong Pokemon.
Moving on to the final battle, which is Chris versus Sean. And currently, if Sean wins, then you guys will be tied. So this is high stakes.
Return. That does a lot of damage. Damn.
Return is a good move.
See, I didn't get to use my Ursaring, which is like my best Pokemon. Dustin got him asleep for 5 turns.
That was quite lucky.
Because Ember does not do anything.
Oh man, that deals so much to Cinder. The Cinder Club.
And you might just want to try again here.
Alright, this is where I fell apart last time.
Oh no, you're doing the Thunder Punch technique. Oh, wow. Both super effective, but no one can one hit.
And for the final match of the day, it was me versus Chris. And so I had led with my Miltank again. Chris again led with his Ursaring. And Ursaring is very strong. Chris just used Return and basically took out almost all my Pokemon because I had no answer until finally I was on my last Pokemon, Slowking. Eventually took down Ursaring. But at that point, he had already taken a lot of damage. And then Chris set out his Magmar, which surprisingly tanked Surf and was able to return with 2 Thunder Punches to take down my Slowking. And so it wasn't very eventful. I mean, the first match was the most eventful match of the night, but all the other ones, the winner only used 2 Pokemon, surprisingly.
It's a lot of fun having fully evolved Pokemon. Magmar is now fully evolved, Ursaring is fully evolved, Politoed is fully evolved, and Shuckle doesn't evolve. It's nice to have stronger Pokemon.
I wonder how long you're going to keep that Shuckle, because I feel like he's just a weak point in your team right now.
Yeah, he's a lot more fun to use in like the actual game than against you. He's not that competitive.
Yeah, so I guess this round we all split it because we all won at least one game.
That's true. And now the records stand. I'm still in first, 7-3. Chris is second, 5-5. And Sean is last at 3-7. And it is crazy how consistent Chris is. 1-on-1 still every episode. That brings us to end to this episode, so thank you everyone for listening to us talk about our experiences. If you would like to see some of the visuals or some of our teams afterwards, you can always check us out at Twitter at The Trainer Trio. And if you do have any questions or even stories of your own, you can email us at thetrainertriopodcast@gmail.com. In our next episode, we will be talking about our experiences leading up to the next 2 gym leaders, Chuck, the Black Belt, and Jasmine, the Steel-clad Defense Girl. So we are combining these 2 gyms next episode because there's not a lot in between. So until next time, we are known as the Trainer Trio, signing off. Catch you in my very hometown of Olivine City, trainers. I'm very excited.
See you soon.